I built this new studio and got my dream like acoustic piano in here. And now whenever I play heavy bass, all I hear is the strings and the piano going. I'm like, oh shit! You achieve a dream and then the dream crashes and burns.
Well, it looked like a nice studio. I've been seeing you post on like social media and stuff. You converted your garage, right, into a studio or garage?
Oh yeah, garage. I know. Yeah, it's I think when was the last time we spoke? It was like 20.
It's been almost 2 years.
22, 23?
Yeah, I think it was end of 2022, I think.
Around that time, I was renting like a 1-bedroom apartment above a wine shop in London, which is annoying because I wasn't into wine then, but I am now, and I never went in there, so that's annoying.
Missed opportunity.
I know, right? And just as I moved out, they upgraded it to some like really premium wine shop as well. But that was the last time I was living there, and my studio was like a really janky spare room in the same building as the apartment. It was like a weird, had like moldy windows, and it really wasn't very high class. But that was I think I just had like my first career breakthrough when we first spoke. Either I'd just been with the Chainsmokers or had been booked or something.
Yeah.
That's what I remember when we last spoke. It was something about that.
It was like, I only think a couple weeks you were about to go into the mountains and record with them.
Oh, right. So it was before.
It was before.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right before.
Yeah, that was my first big-ish career moment. And I think, fast forward almost 3 years. And thanks to sticking with making lots of noise and growing a business, I kind of, grew a network. And now I've bought a house in the English countryside next to an alpaca farm.
That's awesome.
Converted the detached garage finally into a permanent soundproof studio. So it's a bit of an upgrade, and then a massive learning curve as well. Like now that I've got time to actually think about what I want to be in my studio, and it's just like a can of worms. It's fun, but then it's like there's loads to learn about the build as well. So it's been a fun, interesting experience.
I think there's definitely something to say about having a comfortable studio home base where you can just get really comfortable and creative, and just like, I don't know, there's something about that for me. I don't have to have that. Like, I know you've produced a lot on the road as well. Just having your own little home, just kind of this like comforting, nostalgic vibe that makes you just want to press into creativity and making music and art and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of preach that you don't need anything to make good music, at all. Like, no. But then at the same time, given the opportunity, it's nice to actually build like a permanent professional space. So it's not like I think I posted a video about my studio build and somebody commented saying like, I thought you just produce on AirPods in a coffee shop, because I was like bragging about, I made 4 songs for the Chainsmokers that they released. 2 of them, maybe even 3 of them, I produced most of it in AirPods in the local coffee shop. My studio at the time was in my house again, and it was so hot. Yeah. But like the local coffee shop had like sick air conditioning, so I just went there. I think it's less about the gear and more about just like saying a change is as good as a rest. Yeah. Like different things happen to your brain when you're in different situations, whether or not you've got like a sick pair of monitors or just like annoying latency of Bluetooth headphones. Like, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
I think it was Sylvia Massey on the podcast. I forget who it was. I want to say it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. She was like mastering their album, and she just did it in a few different hotel rooms on headphones. I mean, she's awesome. She's like at the top of the engineering game. So I totally believe that. I think it's like, use what you have and like make it work. Yeah. A lot of times creativity comes out of like limitation as well, right? So having limited amount of tools, especially on the production side, can make you more creative. And you're a perfect person to talk to about that. And I've got like a billion questions I'd love to chat with you about like in this episode. And when I think of like the epitome of a producer's producer, I think you're definitely a definition of that person. I mean, you've been crushing. Yeah, lots happened since last time we talked 2 years ago. You've produced with like Marshmello and Chainsmokers, and like the list keeps going. Congrats to you, man. You've been crushing it.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, it's been a strange couple of years, because it all sort of started in a strange way. It was like, whenever I'm in a session, people seem really interested in the fact that I sort of just started via social media, where usually people would start by like spending 10 years on the session circuit and slowly getting into better and better rooms. I saw that and I was really lazy and thought like, I don't want to spend like 10 years networking, like screw that. So I just thought, what's the quickest way to try and get into rooms? And it's like, well, everybody's eyeballs are on social media, so why not try and like propel myself on there a little bit? And then what was the expression? A thumb stopper. If there was some big DJ producer who was scrolling on Instagram and saw a video and was impressed by it and then would want to hire you that way. And then it feels a lot more personal meeting someone that way than it does like someone recommending an engineer or a producer to an artist. Because all the big artists, they have their pick. They can choose whoever they want to work with, and anyone will gladly like fly out to them to work with them. So I think if you can create a bit of buzz on social media, they almost become a fan of what you do as well. They want to meet you and nerd out with you about production stuff too, as opposed to just like you being an engineer in the corner tracking vocals or something in a session. Like it was a good way to try and people laugh like in a video where you're just doing stupid stuff, but then the end result, as long as the end result is always really professional, then you can do whatever you want to entertain in the build up in the videos. And it kind of worked perfectly, if I'm honest. It was like a perfect execution at the time. And I wasn't even really trying. I was trying to get work just to survive. Like I was producing for local bands and I wanted to just like get more clients and try and survive on music. And I never really planned for like bigger artists to like reach out. Like that was never my intention because I didn't think it was possible because it's a crazy aspiration. Like, what do you want to do? Yeah, I'm going to make some Instagram videos and then get hired by the biggest DJs in the world to make their songs. People would think you're an idiot. Like,
yeah,
you know, it just doesn't happen like that. And it just sort of like, it does sometimes.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, like, you definitely have been grinding on the social media thing. And would you say, like, specifically a lot of the videos that helped you get noticed were these kind of sampling hacks? Because for a while, a lot of videos I saw from you was just like, okay, I'm going to take a rubber band and slap the microphone and I'm going to do all this weird shit. And then, like, you turn it into a banger. Were those some of your more popular video approaches that you felt like helped you reach that point?
Yeah, I kind of gave up on social media, like, just before during the pandemic, really, because I was doing exactly what you shouldn't do, which is try and figure out what would be the most popular thing to do and then copy it. Like I thought, oh, dance music is really big. I'll just make dance tracks and I'll just make videos about how to make dance tracks. And it was boring and it was dull and it was obviously not going to work and it didn't work. So I gave up. And then I tried, out of pure boredom, I just like sampled the noises that my pet tortoise made in his like enclosure, because I made him like a slide out of cardboard.
That's awesome.
He was like sliding around and like I got like my Neumann mic and turned it up really loud to get the sound of him like crunching lettuce and stuff, and just made a stupid video. But then that at the time got like 10 times the engagement of any video I'd posted, and I was just like, okay. And then I think the like vital moment was I wish I knew who this was, because I keep telling people this, but like there was a producer, it was like a sponsored post, and they were saying, if you want this fat bass sound, you've got to buy this plugin. And it was like a sine wave and a saturator. It was just like, it was nothing. And it was like $80. And I just got mad thinking like, man, but like poor kids spending all their like allowance buying this thing when all it is a couple of different like plugins they've already got, basically.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of, in an angry moment, like recorded myself hitting like a plastic bucket with a cardboard tube, or tube, as you guys say, and just like processing that into a bass sound as like a sort of FU moment to needing expensive plugins.
Yeah.
And then that went kind of viral. And then I just sort of put two and two together and thought, well, there's like 2 billion Instagram users, but only a really small portion of those are producers. So you can't really go viral as a producer because not enough people really care at the time, like 2 years ago. And that like, so I thought, how can I try and make normal people interested in this too? So I thought, well, showing the sort of like recording process of hitting the thing, an object that everyone's got in their house, isn't some expensive snare. It's just like a cup or whatever stupid thing it was.
Mm-hmm. And
showing the process of that being turned into something. And I think like if the end result had been something that just sounded like you hitting random things, and then the point would have no context. But the fact that I made it sound like a song that could be on radio or something was the point. Because I thought the build-up part of the video is where is the shareable part that people that even aren't producers would share. And then as long as that kind of activity and interest would cause the video to go viral, then it would land under the thumb of someone potentially, important, And then as long as they watched it until the end, where the payoff is a professional song, then you'd have the viral part and the part that's like, I want to work with this guy. And so that was my like crazy idea. And so I kept just like iterating that over a few months. Then that's when it started going viral. And then rest is history, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, it's a good approach. I think it's a good strategy. Because, there's so much noise on social media. And I know for myself and other producers, sometimes you put all this time into making content and then you're like, oh, this only got maybe like 20 comments at most or something. And you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is a waste of time and energy. And you have an existential crisis.
Oh, yeah.
I guess what advice would you give to producers out there who are wanting to maybe get some more exposure on social media or use it as a tool to like help them get out there?
I guess trying to... It's a really difficult question to answer because there's so many different ways to get exposure on those kinds of platforms. But I guess it's like I think again with anything like this, it's down to being authentic, right? I guess like you can try and control the all the parameters, like I was saying, like make a video, like what's the best time to post, be active in the comments 30 minutes after posting, study your retention analytics and do a cheesy hook,
Yeah.
And these things do work well, but when the content is also great as well, if you know what I mean. And I think seeing people trying to hack the algorithm and, focus on all the small details instead of the most important detail, which is your content interesting? Does it give value to people? Is it fun? Is it funny? Is it educational? And I always ask people, would you follow you if you weren't you?
That's a good question.
If someone hasn't got any audience at all, then the honest answer to that should obviously be no. And if someone says yes to that question, then it's like, well, that's kind of your problem. I think you think you're doing good stuff when you aren't. Because if it was good, then you would be seeing some kind of traction, and if you know what I mean. I think if you can solve that, then all the other bits just sort of fall into place, really. But I think people don't focus on being authentic enough, I don't think.
I think like viewers on social media can call the bullshit really easily. Like I know for myself, I can. If I see a video of somebody, usually in the first like 2 to 3 seconds, I can catch a vibe of like this person's trying too hard, or they're not being themselves, or this seems fake in some way. I think people can sense that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Especially in a creative field for some reason. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a good point. Just staying authentic to yourself. A lot of my favorite artists are also just like really good people because I've met them or I see their content and they just seem very genuine and very real, but also they're super talented. Those are my favorite artists. Yeah. And I think a lot of people feel the same way.
I feel like social media has become just like this strange landscape of people giving growth tips when they only built their following by giving growth tips about how to grow. So it's kind of like this irrelevant circle that doesn't make any sense to people that have an original plan of creativity, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like this, it's not very authentic. And I feel like social media is just a wash of people giving advice when they don't even know the answer themselves, which is a strange thing. Like someone saying, oh, here's how you can mix like a pro. And it's like, they've been mixing for 6 months or something. And it's just like, mostly just taking information from another video of someone maybe that's true, that is a pro, and just rehashing it into their own kind of content. And it's such a minefield that genuinely like, it makes no sense to me sometimes.
I was talking to my friend about this the other day. I was like, there's way too many young, overly confident YouTube people who are like, here's 5 hacks to make a Grammy mix master that'll change your life or whatever. It's like, no.
I love their confidence.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I had that confidence, but I didn't even release a course until I'd worked with a big artist because I thought, who the hell would care what I think?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas, some kids would just make a course at 15, like here's how you mine Bitcoin or whatever, and they haven't done it themselves. But it's like, fair enough, I guess. Yeah. As long as you aren't conning people and you're making some money, then sure.
If you learn how to mine Bitcoin and it's working out for you, let me know. I would love to learn how to do that.
I have no idea how any of that stuff works. I'm the biggest granddad when it comes to like, I don't know, cryptocurrencies and stuff, but I don't know.
Well, if you know Flashadamus, you should hit him up because he's living in that world. We talked a little bit briefly about it in the last episode he was on.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm
nice.
with you. I know enough not to sound stupid. So
I don't.
Yeah. Well, dude, there's a lot of other things I'd love to talk about other than social media. Because honestly, social media I think is annoying a lot of times, but it's a necessary thing.
It is, yeah.
Let's talk about your studio build out. Like, what are some things you learned in like building out your garage?
Oh man, yeah. It was. I've learned too much. Really, I wish I hadn't had to learn this stuff, but it is interesting. Like sometimes I think it's a curse because before building the studio, I sort of just got on with stuff and didn't really care about the room I was in. I was only ever in my life like working from like a random room in whatever apartment I was staying in. You know, like I didn't really care, and which is fine to do, but you're never really committed to the space, and you don't put too much thought into the like fine tuning of the space because it isn't a forever studio. And
it's true. Yeah.
I guess like depending on your landlord, the most you'll do is maybe hang a few acoustic panels and buy some mid-price speakers if you want to. And to actually build a professional permanent studio, then you can start investing properly in like monitors, because you can't just go to a showroom and listen to speakers because it's not your room. So how they sound is kind of irrelevant, I guess. And you need to audition speakers in your own studio. And it's definitely not worth paying like 20 grand for a pair of monitors that happen to sound great in a studio that you're renting when you might move soon.
Yeah.
And in my case, my last studio was bigger than this room and a different shape as well. So like, I mean, seeing is like now I'm going to be working in this studio for the foreseeable future for years, hopefully. Now it's time to fine tune this room. But like, I guess like the one thing that I've learned that won't be sound like a fool really is that I thought that if I just got a fully enclosed soundproof room with fabric walls, that it would just sound like fantastic and it'd be the best room ever. And it sounds great, but like obviously fabric walls, like acoustic panels, only really adequately absorb higher frequencies. And the real issue in a small room, like a shoebox studio like this, is the low end and the bass reverb. And so like,
yeah,
especially if you're a fool like me and just happen to have bought a custom desk made for a previous studio that I was renting, because my studio now is like 5 meters by 2.5 meters, and my desk doesn't fit on the short wall, just the long wall. So like I'm now pretty much just like that. There's no space behind me for the low end to dissipate from the speakers because
you typically want to shoot in a rectangle, right?
Yeah, so you want to have more space behind you. So like
right.
in pro studios, you have walls that are like 2 meters thick and big bass traps and stuff. But because my walls here are like 0.5 meters thick-ish. On top of that, my current seating position is like in the middle of the room, which is like a phase cancellation. I'm in the process of buying a whole new desk, and like I've got some speaker stands on order from Germany, and I'm changing the whole setup in here. But luckily, in the meantime, I've got do you know the brand Trinnov by any chance?
No, I'm not familiar.
Trinnov. And that they make this like room correction hardware called the Nova, Nova, which is like SonarWorks Sound ID, but it's a physical unit that sits in between the interface and the monitors. It calibrates your room with this weird like microphone I've got somewhere. Where is it? This thing, like a weird 4-pronged microphone.
Interesting.
So it makes your speakers emit like white and pink noise, and it calibrates the room like Sound ID.
Yeah.
Unlike Sound ID, it's like infinitely more powerful than SonarWorks and infinitely more expensive.
Is this a Dante audio interface? I'm looking at the Trinnov Nova Room Optimizer. Is that what that is?
Yeah, so it's not an interface. It's just it's a piece of hardware that sits. So once you've done the calibration, it doesn't do anything else. It just sits in your rack, just like doing its thing.
Oh, okay.
Instead of going from interface to monitors, you go from interface to the Nova to monitors, and you calibrate the room with this microphone in your seating position. And I was saying it's pretty expensive, but my God, it's made this room sound incredible.
Really?
And
Okay.
It was recommended to me by a couple of people, Dan Lancaster, who produces for Bring Me the Horizon, and also Rob Swire from Pendulum as well.
Oh, cool.
They like swear by them, and I've done some work with. I don't know if you know Gary Barlow over in the US, but he was quite a big pop star over here in the 90s, and he's got like 2 of them in his studio, and they're quite incredible. Like, even though I've chosen the worst place to sit and set up in my studio, it's made it actually sound pretty good. And I've also been working with PSI Audio. Let me test some of their active bass traps. They're AVA, AVAA. They're like tiny cylindrical tube things.
Oh yeah,
and
weird.
they have mics in them. You put them in the corners of your room, and they like absorb the low frequencies and like flip them, and it cures all the low end issues in small studios that haven't got enough space for like big bass straps. Wildly expensive. But when we switched all 4 of them on, and what was interesting to me was like, if you have like a bassy room, if you do like a low sub note in a track, it's almost like inaudible. And then if you do a bass note an octave higher, it's like really loud. And so what I was doing was I was just like compressing my sub basses to like bring those signals more together, like less loud highs and bigger lows, so they all sound equal. But I was compressing something that wasn't there. It was just my room that was telling me that note was louder, even though it wasn't. And so I turn on all these active bass traps, and suddenly that low note is really clear and punchy, and the high note is exactly the same volume. And it's just like so flat. And I was like, my mind was just blown.
This episode is sponsored by Baby Audio. They create some really fantastic instruments and plugins, and they just released a big update to their cult classic, the BA1 synth, that includes an all-new separate effects strip plugin based on its 80s inspired effects section. If you already own the synth, get the upgrade for free. Right now, you can get 51% off new downloads for this new intro sale. And if you use the code AMP15, which is in the show notes of this episode, you get an additional 15% off. So this is a great deal to take advantage of right now. Once again, check out the show notes, use the discount code AMP15, give it a listen for yourself. And a huge thanks to Baby Audio for supporting this podcast.
They are expensive. I'm sure that they'll come down in price at some point to be more affordable for like just general use and stuff, but they're incredible. But I feel like I knew the desk was like too big before I started to build the room, and I didn't get a smaller one straight away because I don't like having my back to a room sometimes. It's nice to have like the artist on the left, piano on the right. That was my thinking. But then like, since becoming obsessed with room acoustics, I thought, why would I ever pay like 10 grand extra for room correction stuff when like 20% of the issues could probably be solved just by having my desk on a different wall? So I'm holding off on buying those bass traps until I can actually hear what the room will sound like when the desk isn't in a stupid position, which is all my fault. So to answer your question, I'm learning about this stuff now, Dan, my friend, and it's a cursed rabbit hole, believe me. And it's really interesting, but like, you can go on forever. You can keep optimizing. You can keep, making things sound better. But at the end of the day, like, I make a lot of stuff, again, like you say, in a hotel room with like one speaker facing left, one speaker facing, like with like no isolation to the desk and just a laptop and a Scarlett interface. Like, it really doesn't matter. But I'm just doing this stuff because I've got the time now to bother. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I'm in that in between weird phase right now in my place because I'm selling my condo that I have in Denver. And like, I've just literally gave up on the space now. And like half the time I'm just using headphones. And Adam Audio sent me their A8H speakers. I love these things. But
nice,
I'm like, I can't really hear them, right? Unless I'm going to invest in the acoustic build out and stuff. So they're just like fun toys now for just like when people are collaborating or hanging in the studio, but I can't really hear them.
Yeah. It's a strange thing because after being blown away by the Nova, whenever someone says to me on Instagram, like, I get loads of DMs from people saying like, what should I buy? What should I? And I try and answer as many as I can, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be responsible for someone spending like 10 grand and then not liking what they bought. So I say, like, if you have a budget, whatever it is, cut the budget in half and spend half that budget on fixing your room first. Because someone that I don't know, but they messaged me, like they spent like I don't know, 10 grand on some ATC speakers, and they're in a room that was like completely untreated, and they were like, why do they sound so bad? And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can help you there. Like, you should have asked me this 2 months ago before you bought them. But like, if the room is treated, then even like cheaper speakers sound are more useful to you than the other way around. So it's funny that people want to get all the brands they love, like these big powerful speakers, because they're really cool glossy purchases, and it's like a bit of a less glamorous purchase to like buy panels and room correction software, but like it's fun. It's fun.
If you're not in your forever home, I just tell a lot of my students or people just buy really nice headphones and get to know them super well.
100%. Like that's what I feel like too. Like I've got what are these on my head? I don't know.
Are those the biodynamic?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have those too. I love those. The DT 990s. Is that what those are?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
and they're just like they are what they are. They're just really flat and reliable and great. And like if you know your headphones well, then you sort of know what you're doing at all times. So it's way more useful than, I think optimizing your room is just so hard to do. But what I'm looking forward to though is when my room is perfect and calibrated in a couple of weeks' time. I've been quoted by the room correction guys that you won't have to do your phone test, car test, Bluetooth speaker test, friend test who's got a different set of speakers to you to make sure that your mix is good. Like when you do your mix in this room, you'll reliably make a good mix for all purposes, which is what I'm looking forward to, because I've still got my old, like, maybe it's insecurity of just checking on the phone to make sure the kick and the vocal sit properly, and then like in my car where it's like really mid-heavy speakers, make sure that it sounds like listenable. But apparently that isn't what you should be doing as a professional, I've been told. But I mean, if you got a spare 10 grand to not have to do a car test, then that's your decision if that's the way you want to go. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated by this PSI audio. It's the Ava Seed 214 bass traps. Is that what they were?
Yeah, so are they the ones that are just like little tubes?
It's like a metal cylinder thing.
Yeah,
and
it's those, yeah.
It looks like a really fancy, tall, like small table stand thing. It's like,
so
are they pretty big?
They're about like, I guess about desk height.
Okay.
About an average desk height. So they're quite small things, and they just sit in the corners.
You could just take those anywhere then, right?
Exactly, yeah. With the Trinov system and the bass traps, you can just whatever room you're in, you can just whether you're in a mobile studio or whatever, just you have to just experiment with the placement, because usually it's like in corners, obviously the bass builds up, but like sometimes it can be like it was Rob Swire was saying he's got some mounted like halfway up the wall. He bought like 12 of them.
Oh geez.
And on the other side there's like one sort of like 1 foot above the floor, and it's about like finding the exact right problems and where they need to be solved. And each one has a dial on the back too where you can change the intensity of the absorption. And so like it would take a good few days to figure out, like, you think like, God, this is a waste of money, they aren't doing anything, and then suddenly you find the right position and you're like, oh, okay, this is great. But it's like it took a while, but I didn't commit to them just yet, because I'm going to wait until I switch the room around, because I might only need to get 2 of them instead of 4, so save some money.
This would be nice. They're $4,000, so
yeah, they're expensive, but again, I feel like if it's your job to get a good mix and you love getting that pure sound, because you can use these systems with like cinema rooms as well. It isn't just about like music production. It's people use them in their house for like all the audio files too. But I feel like that's one of those annoying things that once you've heard what they do, you can think like, yeah, I'm not going to spend that much money, forget that. And then you start producing without them the next day, and you're like, that was a really good sound yesterday. And then over a period of months, you start thinking about it, and it's like any expensive thing. Like you think, I'd never buy that. And then over the course of a year, you start to acclimatize to the price and the benefits. And then suddenly you feel like it's worth the money, because you've adjusted your expectations as to like parting with the money for the benefit. And it's I'm fully invested. I'm converting people because I want everyone to demo them and know how they how they work.
I might have to hit him up and be like, hey, give me that free 99 price for some sponsorship on the podcast, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's not enough people know about it because I had no idea about them, and I just thought I was screwed in this room.
Yeah, I had no idea.
So I don't know how they work. They're very clever, but I don't. I know how they sound, which is the main thing, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was cool.
That is cool.
Give it a go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about new music production tools or AI stuff. I know that's one thing you wanted to mention or talk about. Like, what are your initial thoughts on like the emergence of AI and music production, songwriting, all that stuff happening right now?
Yeah, it's like the biggest topic in my circles is like, I guess obviously AI replacing jobs of producers and creative sound designers and whatever. And I think with AI, if we're talking about, let's say, like the most brutal forms from other industries like image and video creation that AI will possibly decimate, over the next few years, unfortunately, I think AI plugins that completely bypass the need for like a sound designer, like you can either feed it a sound into like, like Synplant and those kinds of plugins where you can just feed an audio sample and it will just analyze it and then give you like a synth patch that you can actually
It's
adjust.
called Synthplant?
Oh, Synplant, I think. Synplant.
I haven't played with that. I need to check that out.
It's fun because you can throw like a one shot from Splice or something into it and it analyzes it into an actual patch that you can change. That's interesting because sometimes, like, I mean, you could just extract a sound from a song you love and put that into it and then get the sound you want. It's not like 100% accurate most of the time, but it will. I mean, of course, over the next few years, it will become amazing. And you can just. I'm sure that at some point there'll be a prompt plugin where you can say, I want a bass like that sound in that Skrillex song, whatever, and it will just like give it to you. But I think it's a great thing. Like I find that history always repeats itself with this stuff. Like I always look at older producers and engineers that hated software versions of hardware effects units back in the day and still do, really. And I feel like the hate never really comes from, it sort of comes because they're defending, because they aren't defending what's truly like the better option. It's more defending the fact that they've spent a lot of money and hours, saving up to buy like an immense analog vocal chain when there's kids that can like create a similar effect with like a pirated software and a refurbished Windows laptop with 16 gigs of RAM. And they're more just sort of mad that it's that it can be done now without having to go that route. And I feel like I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, these kids using AI. It's, back in my day, we used to make the sounds from scratch, and it's just like, I don't know. I've got a Stream Deck now that I was putting off for a while, and it's like, I use it for recalling Ableton racks and stuff that I recall like 20 times a day, and it saves so much time. Am I cheating using that to speed up my workflow? Like, is that the same thing? And it's same as like the whole sampling debate as well, like using a splice loop. Like if I couldn't play the guitar, so I used the guitar loop instead of spending 10 years learning how to play perfectly, is that cheating? Like, no, it's no different to hiring a session musician. It's just easier, quicker, cheaper, and
I think people that are like opposed to new tech or AI or all that stuff a lot of times just comes from a place of fear and just lack of knowledge. Like maybe they don't fully understand it. Maybe they just feel like there's a loss of authenticity or soul in it, or like fear of job replacement, or it's devaluing it somehow. But really I don't see it any different than like, I talked to Floss about this. When plugins first started being a thing, people were like, oh, well, it's not the real thing. It's just a plugin of it. It's an emulation of this synth or whatever. But it's like, no, but like, who cares? It's faster and easier. So you're going to get quicker results. Like, why would you be opposed to change? It's just, I think the people that are going to thrive are the people who actually stay up to date with the tools. And as long as you get the results like you want, then who cares? Doing animation or music, as far as a job career path goes, I think a lot of the creatives that use the new tools in AI are going to thrive.
Yeah, people that are against it are either insecure in their own place in the industry, like that. Maybe they feel like they're they wouldn't be good enough to cut it. They haven't got enough to contribute to the industry to survive being replaced by AI. Or it's just like like with like analog gear, they feel like they're a member of a certain higher tier gatekeeping club, and it's like, oh, this person's just bought a plug-in bundle and has basically got everything I've got, but for like $100, and I've spent like 50 grand on my stuff, and it's like they don't like the thought of someone having what they have, having put in none of the like work to get it, and it's just I don't know. I guess the main take home with the AI thing is like, I think in the creative industries, especially, as long as the AI stays assistive and not generative, I think is the saying, then that's great. Like AI with sound design, it's more about the vision, I think. Like we're orchestrators as producers. And I don't know, I feel like once AI can make fully perfect sounds and rhythms and generate loops and replicate like mastering chains from popular songs with a prompt, like, which will happen, definitely, you have to ask yourself, like, what's left over for us as individuals, like skilled producers. And I think what's left is our vision. Like I always say to people, I could give you my whole studio, all my equipment, software. I could sit with you for a year and not you specifically, but anybody, I mean, and then teach them everything I know, but they still wouldn't make music like me, and I wouldn't make music like them.
Right.
Because because the stuff that we make is a result of our entire life of influence, right? Like I was a musician as a kid, like learning Hendrix riffs and new metal chords. I was in, rock bands, playing piano in restaurants, learning like hours of covers. I love drums, percussion and stuff, and I was obsessed with like drum and bass and sound designs, all my influence, and like thousands of hours and years developing like our understanding of music. Like we can use AI to speed up the process, but in reality it's all about our taste and I guess like your human sound selection and moving the needle, because I don't feel like AI could culturally move the needle in genres and stuff. Like Post Malone, for example, before he started making country bangers, if I had access to like the world's most advanced AI tools, I could say, create me a brand new full-length Post Malone album, with entirely new songs. I guess it would scrape the internet and, make maybe cool music, but it would never have been able to predict his like little cultural change of going from trap to country. So maybe it will be able to guess that in the future. I have no idea, but I feel like it needs to be human.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I feel the same. There are tools out there. I think Suno does this, where you can just say like, take this genre and use this song as a reference and then like remix it. So you could have some kind of like vampire techno reggae track. Like that's just like, and it'll just like generate it, and it's weird and it's kind of cool. So there is that stuff, but I agree with you in the sense of there, like a lot of creativity is formed from human expression. So it's like, I have an emotion that is like informing this track, or the way that I put these little pieces together, whether they're generated by AI or Splice or whatever, or I'm recording it myself. Like there's always going to be that human touch. We have something that AI doesn't have, which is, I think, just like a human nature of feelings and emotions that are like influenced by our surroundings. That's always going to be a unique, original advantage, I think. And people are going to want that.
Yeah.
Like people are going to want that human connection. Like I'm sure you've been in your car and you just heard a song and you had a bad day, and then like you heard it and it just made your entire day better, probably because that person had that feeling that you're getting when you're listening to that song. And like,
100%. It's the same with like what is the value of music? It's like art, right? Where if you were a painter and you got your art into like a high-end gallery, and some rich buyer sees your work and hears the story of your struggle, and sees how much angst and creativity and pain and joy or whatever went into this art piece, that's what gives it value and meaning to a buyer, to have it in their house hanging like that, the history and the effort and the pain in that piece of art. And I wonder if it's the same with music, where like, if you know it's made by AI, no matter how good it is, would it be worthless as music and art, as their forms of human expression? And I feel like if someone knows they're listening to AI music, but it was like a really good song, which I haven't actually heard yet, then how would you feel about it? Like, I'd be interested in feeding some of my favorite like electronic songs into some immense AI and say, make me a song like this, but completely original. And I just wonder how it would, because like, as producers, we know what we're listening to, like great sound design and great choices with like percussion and all the details and stuff. And like, I wonder if an AI generated song could actually inspire me. Like, if you find a song and then you just sit there and press play, and then it gets to that first drop and you get that feeling of like, wow, this is really great. And you just play it again and again and again and get the same feeling over and over again.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can get that feeling from an AI song.
I don't know.
I'm sure you would eventually.
Yeah, at some point it might get there, because all it's really doing is just it's creating models of what exists, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trained on all these feelings, then it probably can generate something similar. But I think the human connection is still something that people are going to want, which is why people follow an artist in the first place. If you're going for that as a producer and you want to have your own art, people are going to follow you because they have some kind of human connection with it. So
that's true, actually. Like, I'm sure there's been some artists where, as in like producers, musicians, that where I wasn't into their music very much, but then I got to know them and was really a fan of them, and therefore gave more time to their music and ended up really liking their music because it revolves around their whole brand that I enjoy. But then again, somebody would just engineer an AI person and maybe they'll be able to do the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know either,
man. That's one, like, Mark Ribier is a great example of that too. Like, I don't necessarily go binge his Spotify, but he's hilarious and I love him live. So it's like, it
was like, I've got to know Dylan Francis pretty well. And if you know Dylan Francis, the DJ.
Yeah, of course.
And he is like, I think it was Diplo said this. He said, like, Dylan's like not making like revolutionary music like maybe Diplo did back in the day, or like things that change culture. But he makes great music, but he's the guy you want to have around because he's just so
he's hilarious. Funny. He's really funny.
He's such a cool guy. That has a lot of weight in the music industry, because if people want you around, then you'll go way further than someone who's like a struggling genius in their studio alone who can't talk to other people. And it's like, I feel like that's a great position to be in. But like, I do worry about AI, I guess, for songwriting is very different, because I was a bit of a tangent, but I was last week I was actually in with Marshmello, because he came to London for a couple of weeks. I was in a session with some writers, and often, like you probably know, writers aren't always singers themselves, so they'll just like work with other singers to track demos. But now these are like top songwriters, like we're talking 10 billion plus streams to their name, and they're now just recording themselves singing. And if they want to pitch a song to a certain artist, they'll use those online AI tools. I think one was called Audemy, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
To change the voice to a similar voice of the artist they're pitching to, like low, deep male vocal, or like delicate Billie Eilish style female vocal, which is crazy. That's a good example of a useful tool for one, but a career ender for another. Even with lyrics, like it's a slippery slope, man, because you can just ask ChatGPT to write great lyrics and it does. You can even ask it to make good concepts, maybe. And like, I think in AI now, if you're a great prompt writer, then you can easily use chat, write great lyrics and stuff.
Totally.
You just
I've done that.
Yeah, same.
It's honestly not perfect though. Like it gets it close.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at learning how to prompt it. I think it's an awesome idea generator where it gets you to that place. It takes you to that like 60 or 70%. And then the other 30%, 40%, you're just refining it, which is a huge time saver. And honestly, I'm all about saving time because I think it's the most valuable resource we have in life. But
yeah, definitely.
I think it's huge for that. I don't know. What other use cases do you think AI could really be a game changer for in the future for like what we do?
I haven't spent so much time like using AI tools. I mean, I've used Audemy for big group vocal stacks and harmonies if I didn't get a chance to like record them in the session or something. Other than that, I'm still amazed. Yeah, I'm still amazed by just ChatGPT. And
It's cool,
I think it's
man.
like
It's awesome.
It's cool. I think you need a business subscription to use commercial licenses for stuff, but like I've used it for generating product images now. Whereas I used to hire a graphic designer for like $400 a picture.
That's cool.
And I kind of feel bad, but at the same time, it takes 2 seconds and it's brilliant as well. And like even with Photoshop having like generative fill, that feature for music production, again, if AI is assistive and not generative, then that's a better use, like you were saying, to start the thing going for you to then finish. Because if you're the one making the prompts, then you're still being creative, I guess. Like I think one really good use for AI in particular, like for me or for anybody, would be if you could sort of like in Photoshop with generative fill. You know that when you can sort of highlight an area and just say get rid of the house in the picture, and it would just get rid of it. Whereas before you had to have some skills using the patch tool and masking. Now you just don't. Like those skills are unneeded now. It's really kind of sad. But if you could say to Ableton, like if you had your song structures, song markers arranged or whatever, like verse 1, verse 2, if you could then say, like, Ableton, could you please replicate the first verse and paste it as a second verse, but make a few changes so it's not exactly the same, give it a bit more energy. Probably things like that would be the first kind of thing to use. Although I think Ableton as a company are very artist focused, so that probably would be a massive backlash. Or saying something like Ableton, this vocal sounds a bit boomy because it was recorded in a bad room. Can you analyze it and then set up an EQ and some other stuff to fix it? And like my vocal reference would be this track on this vocal here. And I feel like if you have the vision as the prompt master, then you're still being creative because you're still orchestrating the thing. Yeah. So is it any less creative just because you can't do the immense EQ pattern to get the voice to sound the way you want it? Or like, is that a bad thing if you're still doing the DJ Khaled and you're just getting the things together in the room to create something good? Yeah. Then it's just like your role as a producer will just change. You'll be more of like a what are those guys at the front of an orchestra?
A conductor.
The conductor. Yeah. So you sort of aren't playing the instrument, but you're telling them how to play it, basically. So it's I guess our roles just change. Maybe, I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I think it's going to be just in the next couple of years, mind blowing. I like that idea of it being a conductor from a producer role. Is less getting into the weeds and just getting faster results. Yeah, I think that's really cool. I could see Ableton and other DAWs starting to incorporate more tools that are like prompt based or that let you streamline things faster. Like, we have Isotope RX, but like, what if that kind of stuff was just more quickly built into the DAW to like clean up stuff, to like upscale things? If like this audio sounds like crap, I need you to make it like higher fidelity and just like boop, just like up samples it or something.
It is like using, I guess, again, history repeating itself. It's like if Serum was just the initial preset and there were no presets and you had to learn how to make a respace or whatever it was, then suddenly presets come along and you can just type in respace and get the sound. That's no different to telling a prompt that you want the vocal to be this way. Yeah. It's the exact same thing because you know what you want to do. Yeah. And just because you can't physically do it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to make a track that is good. Yeah. And that people enjoy. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
It's strange territory, I guess.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, the listener doesn't really care about how you got there. They just know what they hear and they're like, I like this. This sounds good.
Exactly. Like Fred again, in one of his, was it Bad Days or something? He used a splice loop that was like, he didn't change the key, didn't change the tempo, whatever it was. And everyone was like mad at him about it. And it's just like, same as that Sabrina Carpenter song, Espresso, if you've heard that.
Yeah.
People were going crazy about that song because the main bulk of the song is just 2 Oliver loops from Splice. One of his drum loops, the Oliver sounds on Splice. He's like one of the biggest Splice
I've used a few
makers.
of those.
Yeah, and it was just like an unchanged drum loop of his and an unchanged melody loop of his together. Obviously, the producer like made the bass line and they mixed it and added all this new stuff to it. But like, he was getting slated for that. And I just know exactly what he went through, where he probably had 1,000 ideas that he'd fully produced. And when he was in the room with Sabrina, he was just playing random stuff. And he happened to play her probably this thing he made in 5 minutes, which was meant to be a reference for something else. And she just liked that. And he was like, yeah, cool, let's make a song over it. And then like that happens and then sends a bounce. And then a week later, the label's like, right, we're going with this one. And he's like, oh no. He's like, okay, just let me change the drums, I'll fix things. And he's like, no, we love the vibe of this as it is. And he's just like, oh no, people are gonna hate on me now because it's just 2 splice loops. But I can see how that happens.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love the song.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And who really cares?
Who cares? That's how I feel too. People get real pretentious about that kind of stuff as producers. And it's like, honestly, 90% of people hearing it aren't even going to know that. They're not going to care.
And the only people who get mad about it, I don't want to sound toxic here, but I love being toxic.
Yeah, be toxic.
Is that I love it. I think maybe it's normally people that haven't had the success they wish they had. So they get annoyed when they think someone else has had the success based on what they perceive as no or low effort, basically.
Preach.
That's normally what hate comes from. So
that's good.
I feel like no one ever hates down. They always hate upward, right? Like you wouldn't, I've seen this so many times, not to go back to social media again, but like if you had a really great video and you posted it, but you had no followers, if a hater was scrolling through and saw your video and thought it was great, but saw that you had no followers and had no likes, they would be like, oh, well, it's cool, but he isn't doing anything. If they saw the same video and it had thousands of likes, then the insecurity sets in and they're like, then they're typing the comment of like, oh, well, it's crap anyway. Or,
yeah.
But people don't hate to people that aren't doing well. It's always just like a weird, bad energy to people that are doing better than them. So if you get haters,
yeah,
it's a fantastic sign that you're doing something very right, I'd say.
That's really funny, man. Because every once in a while, I'll get a comment on like a podcast reel or something and be like, well, this is better, or like blah, blah, blah. And it honestly just now I just laugh at it. It's like a mind virus that unfortunately
it's really sad.
And I'm not going to lie, like there's been times where I've been scrolling and I was like, damn, I wish that was me, or blah, blah, blah. And I think that's just being human, right? Like we all sit and poop the same way.
You and I'm sure that we did this like a fair time ago.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, if you see a guy who's like in his mid 30s or 40s, like saying to a stranger, oh, this is shit. It's like on my, on my studio build video, it's just so funny seeing like, I thought it was quite a cool video. I documented the entire process, like short form on Instagram and TikTok, and then longer form on YouTube. I'm just like an honest person who has built a career and wanted to move to the countryside and convert a garage into a studio. And the amount of people that are like, small though, or just like, they'll watch the whole video and just say like, this is wrong. And it's just like, I don't know where the energy comes from, but I do, because I think that what I've done is a bit of a fetish fantasy for a lot of musicians, like to build your own soundproof thing on your property.
Yeah.
And if someone really wants one of those, and again scrolls past and sees someone doing it, it's just it's an outrage to them. They don't want to see it.
Well, I feel sad for those people because you know that they're not happy with their life, and that's really unfortunate. So now I try to like, you're right, and when I do see that, like I want to have empathy for those people because you know they're not happy.
It's hard though, isn't it? It's hard to not reply and be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Fuck you.
You get into an argument and it's just like, it's never ending because those people don't want to be corrected. They just want to vent. And so you could say the most relevant, informative, witty response to them, and they're still going to come back with just like something that they'll double down. So there's just like, I've learned the hard way to just completely ignore negative comments because even though they're obviously stupid and you're obviously right, you always end up looking dumb because you care enough to respond. So it's just like, it's just the worst thing to do to respond. So
that's good.
Sometimes I still might respond.
I'm just going to start commenting on all of your ads that I keep seeing and just be like, this is garbage. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, ads are a different story because like you're showing things to people that don't want to really see it sometimes. So it's I will have a few good arguments, but I try and generate more engagement on my ads by like leaving open-ended responses to people, and it's it's fun. It's a fun hobby to argue with haters.
It is. Yeah, it does take a lot of energy and time, which maybe we could create a chatbot that does that for us, or something like an AI bot.
That would be good.
Yeah. Sample pack and the future of sound design stuff. I'd love to chat with you about that real quick. I know it's been an hour, but you create a lot of your own sample packs and sell that. What are you noticing as far as like the sample pack market? What do you see for that in the future?
Well, I'm happy to talk for a bit longer if you are, unless you've got another podcast to record.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm relaxed. Sorry, what was the last part of your question? I talked over you then.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just thinking about like sample packs. You made a lot of really good ones and like preset bundles and stuff that I keep saying, and it all sounds really solid. What do you think, like in the next, let's just say 5 to 10 years, like with all this new technology, do you think people are still going to be buying sample packs? Do you think that's like a viable thing for producers to make money on and sell? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like there's been an interesting trend recently, which benefits me and I think benefits other people, other end users too. And that's that like people would often say, like speaking of comments on ads, like why would I spend $30 on Rob's drum sample pack when I can pay $10 a month on Splice for hundreds of thousands of samples? And that makes sense on the surface, but like, let's be real, out of all those samples on Splice, how many of them are to your taste, I think is the main issue. Like probably 1 in every 1,000 samples would be something that you would personally use in your tracks. And that's one thing.
It's true.
But also like the battle with the never-ending search, all the memes of like trying to find the right kick drum, just browsing for hours and hours and like wasting time to find the right thing. Also like the issue of when you do find the right thing, thousands of other people have used that same sample or loop. And like, I can hear, I'm sure you can as well, I can hear a common splice snare straight away in a song, or like a certain loop or a kick drum. Like you just know where it's come from. And especially like a whole loop or a melody loop. And ultimately, like, again, like we were saying, that's fine. Who cares, I guess. But what I'm finding lately is something I said years ago, which is like, if you find a producer that you really like and you enjoy like 95% of their music, if they have a sample pack available, like a drum pack or whatever, it's so much more inspiring and unique to support that producer and get their pack, because you're probably like 100% of the sounds in that pack. So like, I think I've seen more people invest like in independent producers lately, which makes sense and is very cool. Even though I make packs myself, I buy independent packs from producers. Like, do you know Tisoki?
No,
the producer.
I don't think so.
Oh, you would love him.
Okay,
you should definitely Tisoki. He's incredible. He's from the UK as well, and he released a drum pack, and I love his drums, and so I bought it straight away. And then like a week later, he texted me and said, "Oh, here's my drum pack, by the way." And I was like, "I've already got it, man. I've already bought it." Like I'm like straight away.
That's cool.
And it's full of like all the snares and perks and hat loops that I want, that I spend hours searching Splice for, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it makes so much more sense. And I don't know how the whole industry will react when it comes to AI generated drums and stuff. Like Synplant is great for drum one shots too, because you can just put a snare from Splice into it. Not that I do this, but you could do this. You could make your own drum pack. Here's a hack for people that want to make some money. You could just throw 100 one shots into Synplant, and you've got 100. Change it with the parameters that it gives you, and you could make 100 new snare samples in like 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
And what's good is like, sometimes you find a snare on Splice or whatever that's almost the way you want it. So you can use that plugin to adjust it and like maybe change the transient in a way that isn't possible with just the transient shaper on an audio sample. Like you can do so much. But again, the same with the AI thing we were talking about with like human touch. I wouldn't have bought that pack if it wasn't for the fact that I love his music, and that's more valuable to me than buying, I don't know, than generating a loop. But I don't know, actually, you made me think I might try and generate some AI drums and see how cool they work.
I need to try Synplant. Does it sound good? Like the quality of the audio it generates?
Yeah, it's really good. And I think what's more interesting is you throw a one shot in there, like a synth pluck or something, a bass donk, and it comes out with, like, I would say half the time it comes out accurate and half the time it comes out good but different. And sometimes that's what I want. I want something that's like, like if you try and design a sound because you really want a bass like this bass in whatever song, you try really hard, and sometimes you can't quite get there because you don't know what processing they've done to the sound afterwards in the song. But you end up with something that's cool anyway, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is different because I've made it, and it's like, it gives it a more unique feel. But I guess if you're going for like a really specific sound that you want exactly matched to something else, then it probably isn't the best thing to use. But I mean, try it out. It's a really strange, a real left field plugin that I think every time you use it, you think,
I know Stable Diffusion has something like that, but this is like, is it a web app or a plugin?
No, it's natural plugin.
Okay, that's cool. See, that's really sick. Well, I met when I was at Ableton's headquarters doing like a masterclass retreat weekend thing. I met this girl who is like a contractor for Microsoft, and she's building tons of AI solutions for like corporate stuff. And so she kind of came to me, and this might be super premature to even say on the podcast, but she was like, what kind of tools would you like to build? Let's talk about making it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, that sounds, there's so many things you could do. Like, it's kind of a fun thing to think about. So now I'm just kind of thinking about, like, what is the future next gen thing that producers actually need or would fast track to save you time and money? Trying to think about what that
is. It's so hard to answer, isn't it?
Have you played with Wavetool, the DAW? It's like a new AI DAW.
No.
Apparently there was some kind of legal issue or whatever with their product, so they had to take it down. So it's, I don't know if you can download it, but I was told it's coming back. So they're going to re-release it, and you can download it again, I think, soon. But it's insane. You can just say, like, make me a jungle style drum beat with a kick, snare, hi-hat over 16 bars, and then boom, it just does it. And then you can like flip through different versions of that. But it's its own DAW. It's like a standalone. Somebody made a scripting language with Claude, so you can just ask it to have Ableton do stuff for you. And I know You Suck at Producing is doing something similar. He's building right now.
I think we get very much set in our ways and our workflows and stuff. And things to speed up workflow would be great, because I'm not like I'm not like a really fast producer. Like, I was in a studio with Marshmello last week, and there was like some crazy people turned up. Yeah, there was Rob Swire and Gareth from Pendulum. Cool. There was Matt Bellamy from Muse, just rolled through, Ellie Goulding and like Bastille. And what was great was, like, I was in the room with producers that were really fast engineers, and so we all gelled really well together in that situation because of like collaborating well. But I felt like this co-producer was like my own AI tool, because I could tell him what I wanted and he would set something up really fast. And I thought, wow, I work really well this way in this kind of environment. So it was like, that was definitely a recent career highlight anyway.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome, man. Congrats. That's sick.
Yeah, it was a strange week.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, once you get over the technical hurdles, like, of learning Ableton and the technicalities and getting your sound design and organizing your sample library and all that stuff, I think, like, working faster is more fun. I try to work as fast as I can, because especially if I have an idea, like, I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling creatively inspired, and you can call it the muse or whatever you want, as far as having that thing that just comes through you. Like, I personally believe a lot of my best work and favorite music I've made was like kind of given to me in some way. It just like kind of flows through you and just like vomited it all out really fast. Like, a lot of the stuff I've made happens really quick that I love the most. So I try to work really fast and stay inspired in that moment and hold on to that creative wave that I'm riding in that moment. And it usually only lasts for so long.
Yeah, I've learned that kind of speedy workflow to an extent from the like bigger artists I've worked with. it made me realize that these people, like regardless of how wealthy or successful they are, they're just music lovers. Like I would be nerding out with Marshmallow about this new Ableton skin that he's got that he's really happy with, and like he bought an Ovation bass station because I had one in my story, so we're just nerding about sound design, and then like with Drew from the Chainsmokers about like resampling. And with all these artists, what they all have in common is they're really good at just quickly getting ideas together without being too precious. Like, who cares if the kick is really boomy? Who cares if the Ableton project is an absolute mess, or if something is clipping, or like, I think our job as producers is to just throw everything at the wall, regardless of if it's sloppy, or just to get the ideas flowing. And then when something starts to come together, to just capture the essence of that idea and then move on to the next thing. And then down the line, if it gets picked up or chosen as a song, then it will get polished and mixed and you know, to a good standard that us sloppy producers couldn't figure out. And so like, I always assumed that these bigger artists would be insanely picky and like thorough, and they are, but only where it matters. And so I've learned so much to be like less bothered. They're sloppy in the best way. Like they aren't being so precise all the time. It's just funny because people assume they would be like crazy precise with what they're doing, but it's more just getting the first thing done and then moving on. And it's quite therapeutic to know when to stop producing and when to move on, you know.
Having that awareness, I think, is huge in the creative process of knowing what to tweak and what to move on with. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. I think the best producers know how to balance that, I would think.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of like fun tools and toys, have you played with M2TM chords? It's like in Live 12, it's a Max for Live device in the MIDI clip. You can just type out the chords and it creates them for you.
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's this guy or girl, honestly, sorry. MIDI to the max. He or she hit me up and sent this to me. I just sent it to you in the chat. It's called M2TM chords. It stands for MIDI to the max. But like, it's crazy. Like, you can just type in, you can choose the octave, like the inversion, voicing. You just type in like C space A7 space D minor 9.
Yeah.
And it'll just create the clip for you, or the notes in the clip.
Crazy.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm quite behind on like Max for Live stuff. Like I was saying with workflow, you get so into your own specific little zone when it comes to pumping out music. And I think like the busier you get as a producer, the less time you have to actually completely step back and go, is this the most efficient way to do this? Because you're just trying to pump out music as fast as you can. So it's always nice to find new tools that actually are useful, I guess.
Yeah, this one's fun. I haven't played with it a ton, but when I do, I really like it.
Yeah, awesome.
Well,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's see. Upcoming projects. Anything you want to shout out to people that they should know about? I know you haven't dropped a Rob Late track since 2023. Is that right?
Well, I don't release music at all. I don't release music personally. I just work for other people. But what was the most recent project was just I produced half of the Chainsmokers' last EP.
Yeah, it was good. I listened to it. It was really sick.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah, that was quite a spontaneous coffee shop job, but I did finish it in my studio. Don't worry, I'm not that good.
Nice.
And then 2 tracks coming with Marshmallow as well.
Cool.
Over the next few months. One with Hayla, if you know the singer Hayla. She was on the recent John Summit tracks.
Yeah, she's good.
Amazing.
She's really good.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who the feature will be on this other track, but we're still finishing the second one. And then I'm working on Alpha Drums 3 as well, is my next sample pack that I'm releasing. But it's a strange division of time where people always say like, why aren't you making videos or whatever? And it's just you use videos to gain traction to get work, and then you have to get the contacts, and then you do the work. And it's like, if I spend my time making videos and I'm not doing the work that I made the videos to get in the first place, then the online store that I made to pay rent back in the day that accidentally became a bigger thing that employs 3 people. So now that's also part of my life. And then you sit back and think, I just want to make music. I didn't mean for this to happen. But then I actually love making products and stuff. But like every day I change my mind as to what my focus is going to be. I would be interested in doing an artist project. Like I've had talks with like some bigger publishers and releasing stuff. And I've always said like, I'm not a DJ, I don't tour. So what's the point? And they're just like, we don't care. Just, do you want to make some stuff? And I quite enjoy being in the shadows because you get to just sort of like, one day you can make pop, the next day you can make rock music, and then the next day you can produce for, like I was working with 5 Seconds of Summer one day, and then the next day I was working with a guy called Lorne Balfe, a film composer who works with oh God, who's that big film composer? I'm blanking now. Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer, yeah.
And working on like music for film. And then the next day you're like working with a completely different artist, or then the next day working on like sync and stuff, and working like making a song for a whiskey advert in Korea, and it's just like that's really fun. And I don't know, it's also very good money as well. So I feel like if I like to get to the point of where I'm so settled that all I do is just make more music. That's like that's the goal. But I accidentally got into these things that and now I have a responsibility to maintain. So it's a good thing that's also bad, but I don't know.
Honestly, I relate to that so hard. Like my website, Live Producers Online, has become like this kind of annoying task now that I never intended. Where like people are like, hey, this is broke, or I need this, or like, where can I find this? I'm like,
yeah,
I just want to make music. I just want to do this.
But then it's a good, I feel like it's a good, like, we complain about it because everyone's dream is to just, spend every day making music with no real intention. But it's still a blessing, right? To be able to do all this stuff and to be able to just sort of be creative for a living. And I feel like even with the music production course, like I never really intended on doing that, really, if you know what I mean. Like I wasn't sort of sold on the idea like straight away. And so I feel like once you get into something and you accidentally start doing it, and then you enjoy it as well. Like it's one of the most rewarding things I've done, I think, is like by mistake. Obviously, working with big artists is the most rewarding thing you can do. You learn so much, and you hear music being played out to like massive crowds, and it's great. The producer blueprint is a course that I made, and I thought like, oh God, everyone's got a course now. It seems so cheesy, and I thought like, I have a weird way of making music, so it's not very efficient. I'm not very technically advanced, so who would really care? I thought I'd have to learn how to do it properly before I could teach how to do it properly. And then my business partner said, that the only way to make an original course is to teach people exactly the way you did, the way that you work, because it's because your methods have got you to where you are. And so I thought, okay, fine, whatever, another revenue stream, cool. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah.
And that, I completely didn't expect it to work out the way it did. But I would get like DMs all the time from people saying, like, thank you for the perspective in your course. It's really helped me out because, like, although I do teach technical stuff in this course, I also ramble on for way longer than I should do probably about like the music industry. It's like proper stream of consciousness stuff because about like how to get yourself out there and trying to dispel myths of like that you can only be successful in the music industry if you're rich, or if you're super super talented, or if you, I don't know, are just lucky to make it in music. And I think that unfiltered dialogue kind of like has helped me to build quite a loyal community. And I would like to think that if I became a multi-millionaire, that I would still in some way like do live streams and update course videos to help people, because it's a strange benefit that I didn't really expect to do. Like you make these things to try and pay rent, then they become something, and then you get pleasure that you wouldn't have got before because you never would have planned to teach anything. And it's just it's strange.
No, that's cool, man. That's a good story. I resonate with that too. It's because I feel like I've learned more by teaching. And I also feel like there is something like intrinsically rewarding and just makes you feel good when you find out that you helped somebody, whether it was intentional or not. Like, I get messages for people, thanks for doing the podcast. And it's just like, oh, there's real people out there who are actually benefiting from this. And you're not just like in a isolation chamber or in a black hole, just cranking out content and just doing it for yourself. Like, it's like, there's real people 100%. Out there who are thankful for that. That's the best feeling.
Yeah. It is like you can build a following, but it's just numbers on a page. And it wasn't until I do like a live stream every so often. I do a free live stream on like a pro Zoom account where you can get like, I don't know, 300 people in there. And part of you thinks, who's going to turn up? In that like 30 seconds when you go into the chat and you're like, does anyone actually know this is still on? And then suddenly like all these webcams just appear on Zoom and it's at like 300 cap all the way through. And I'm just like, it's so weird. And I kept being really self-deprecating, saying like an hour into it and like everyone's still there. And I'm just like, oh my God, these people actually want to hear what I have to say. And that's when you realize the people that follow you are real people. And we had such a good time for like 2.5 hours. It's supposed to be an hour. And great questions and just great people. And you just realize that you're actually doing something. Like you were saying, if you have just followers and you make a product, people buy it, whatever, but there's no human interaction. And so when you actually see people in a live stream, they're listening to you and they're not instantly leaving the chat after like 10 minutes, then it's like, it's a real eye-opener that you're actually doing something. And I want to do more of them because I'm always pumped for like a week afterwards to just like do more stuff after that, because normally I'm just sat in this cave, windowless, goblin chamber of mine, just on my own, just making music, doing the odd Zoom call.
Yeah.
And so when you realize there are people out there that actually are really interested in what you do, that makes it feel more human, I guess. And it's a really good feeling. Yeah.
I think everybody needs that recharge. It's like you have a low battery at some point, it needs filled, and you got to have people that support you. I think it's a good reminder for everybody listening to this podcast right now is like, go support, or even it's just sliding in the DMs or like share a comment on a post of an artist that you like, just to like encourage them. Because it does mean a lot when you're grinding all the time, no matter how big you are. So
yeah, I feel like if I've tried to actively, like if I'm just scrolling through videos, doing a good doom scroll, I love doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I find someone who is like, just like a singer who is just singing to a backing track and they've got like a beautiful voice and they've got like 300 followers, I will always leave a comment or just something, because even though I'm not some sort of celebrity, like they wouldn't care. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I thought I was, nobody was seeing this video if it has like 300 views, but I just saw it on the Explore page randomly.
Yeah.
And when I used to get a comment like that in the beginning, sometimes that small word could make that person think, oh, I was going to give up next week.
Yeah.
And now I feel like, oh, okay. And you sort of never know. It's really hard to gauge how your words affect people online.
Yeah.
In the same way that like leaving a hate comment can really bum someone out for a long time. So don't do that ever. But like leaving a positive comment is just like can change someone's entire day, week, month, or life. And you haven't got to have some verified check mark next to your name. You just have to say something positive about it. And like, it really changes someone's day. And it's like as you get older, you realize that all the cliche things your parents said are just always, always true. And just saying a nice comment to someone in the street. Like I love those videos where it's some guy walking past and saying, oh, I love your hat. It looks great. And it's just like those tiny comments to people can just change someone's day. And I try to do it as often as I can, not like willy-nilly just for the sake of it. If I see something I really like, I'll do it. But like it's too easy to be really negative online. And so you should always encourage everyone to keep doing what they're doing, because it's hard to motivate yourself at the best of times. And when you know even one person loves what you do, then that will change your motivation for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you could write a book on that. It's like the memoirs of being a good person and encouraging others.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good though. No, that's good insight, man. I agree. Well, I have to pee super bad, and unfortunately, I have other things I have to do. I would love to just hang out here all day because I love your stuff. I think you're super talented, even though you just said like you're not technical, or whatever, which is a complete lie because you crush it and you know what you're doing. So everybody, go check out Rob's stuff and follow his page. Before we close out, I was gonna have you ask my newer AI chatbot, Abe. He's trained on all the Ableton manuals and the podcast episodes and a bunch of Max for Live and plugins and other stuff.
Oh, right.
So if you had to ask him a question, what would it be?
Any technical question about Ableton, it should be able to
It should know.
It should be able to answer.
Should be able to, as long as it's in the manual, he'll definitely know it.
Oh, right. Okay.
And even if it's not, sometimes he surprises me too. So like I was asking about how to make a patch in Wavetable, and it's like, don't forget to turn on high quality mode. And I was like, what? It's like, you can do that. That's crazy.
So could you ask it like the best way to comp vocals or something like that?
Sure. Yeah.
It's a really boring thing to ask him, but I can't think of something good.
No,
I
that's
just thought
cool.
Today I had trouble comping.
Are you in 12? Are you in Live 12?
Yeah.
What was your issue?
It has new vocal comping in it from like Live 11 or something. They introduced comping. And I was watching my co-producer the other day doing it in Logic, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I used Logic for that. But I think that the Ableton one's got much better now.
Really? I didn't know they updated comping from 11 to 12. That's interesting.
Well, there was I'll try and think of a better thing to ask if you can hold your pee in longer.
I'll just keep holding it until I just wet myself. It's fine.
Can you ask it how to hold in your pee whilst you're using Ableton?
Yeah, should I ask him that?
Breathing techniques and stuff. Yeah.
If I have to pee and I'm working on a song and can't go pee, what should I do to finish the song?
He's like, this isn't in the manual. I wasn't trained for this.
Let's see what he has to say. It sounds like you're in a bit of a creative bind. Here are a few strategies to help you stay focused and finish your song. Set a timer. Prioritize tasks. I'm summarizing. Use short breaks wisely. If you can't leave your workstation, try to incorporate micro breaks where you can stand up, stretch, and refocus your mind. Stay hydrated. That's not helpful. I'm not going to stay hydrated if I have to pee. Mind over matter.
So you can still... Did it say mind over matter?
It did. It said sometimes focus intensely on the task at hand can help temporarily forget about other needs.
So you can ask if things aren't specific. Okay. Yeah. How about as a producer, do you need a professional soundproof studio in the English countryside in order to make great music?
Specifically in the English countryside.
Yeah, it better say yes.
Next to alpacas.
Waste a lot of money.
What's the best way to sample an alpaca?
Oh, as a producer, do you need a professional soundproof studio in the English countryside in order to make great music?
Okay.
Let's
see what he has to say.
He's gonna cut me down hard now.
He says no, you don't need. He actually gave a really long answer. No, you don't need a professional soundproof studio in the English countryside. Many successful producers create amazing tracks from home studios or even on the go. Here are considerations. Acoustic treatment. Fully soundproof studio isn't necessary. Basic acoustics can help improve the sound quality of your space. Talks about panels, bass traps, diffusers. Quality.
Look, everyone listening, you need a soundproof studio in the English countryside with 4 AVAA bass traps and a Trinov Nova room correction. Otherwise, it's impossible to even make the simplest beat, okay?
Yeah.
You've got to have a budget of at least 50 grand. Otherwise, your music career is over. Okay?
Yeah, you can't make good music otherwise. I'll tell Abe that he's wrong. Yeah, be like, you're wrong.
You got to work on that tool a bit more because he's lying to you.
Yeah, he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about.
He has no idea.
Yeah, I'll work on that some more. No, but I did ask him, what's the best possible tool for sidechaining? And he recommended GM Audio Ducker, which I included in his training, which I love. I don't know if you ever used that.
Oh, no, but this, I keep going on about this producer I work with who is just really efficient. And he he gave me a list of like 20 plugins that he swears by, and he was using so many of them that I was like, that's really cool. So I'll share this list with you because he's not he doesn't suffer fools. Like he knows his stuff, and if he's using them, then he's gone through so many iterations of like useful plugins and always trims the fat. So I've got to look into these plugins. Yeah,
share them with me. I would love to see that list. That'd be really cool.
There was one that was side chaining, but it had so much control, and it was like I was watching him do this stuff, and it was so much better than LFO Tool, or even I was using like AutoPan sometimes, and which is great. But this, I forget what this was called, but I'll share that list with you because it was really, really good.
No, I would love that. That would be awesome. I could tell Abe about it too.
Yeah, make sure he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he needs to get smarter about buying $50,000 of gear to make good music.
And also, he has to buy. My recent purchase is what I'm most excited about, which is the most boring purchase. But I wanted it for years, and it's one of those Herman Miller Aeron chairs.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And my whole life, I've thought, I thought, who would pay that much money for a chair?
Yeah, they're expensive.
And whilst I was saying that, my like lower back was like aching in this old chair that I've got, and I've built this entire studio, but I've got this chair where the armrests are like falling apart and everything. And I thought, you know what? I sat in one last week in this studio, and I was in it for like 8 hours, and it was the most comfortable thing I'd ever sat in. And I'm tall, and so I always have an issue with chairs. And I took a picture of this chair and found the right model online, and I just instantly bought one because I'm so excited for it to arrive as well. Which is, I probably shouldn't be that excited for a chair, but
no, you should be. Honestly, I love my chair. It's been a game changer for me. I could sleep in this thing. It's the best. You got to have a good chair, man. Nobody's gonna stay creative sitting on like a wooden, like awful piece of crap furniture that's like making your back feel like it's gonna fall off.
Yeah, I think chair is longevity, right? It's like, it's not a glamorous purchase like monitors, but like acoustic treatment and room stuff. Like, it's an investment. But I think if you're serious about your career, then things like, the Nova, maybe, I'd say like the Nova and room correction, or just like some panels, like a bookcase. That's why bedrooms are so great to producing, because like I went into a library the other day, and there were so many books in this small room, and it sounded amazing in there. Like the sound, like the lack of reflections and stuff in this library. And I realized that's why a bedroom is so good to produce in, like a bookshelf, a bed, carpet, whatever it is. And like a chair is the main investment, guys. So again, to add to the 50 grand of studio gear,
add a chair.
If you haven't got a chair that's worth at least $2,000, you have no hope in having a career in music, which although is an obvious lie, but if you've got a bad spine, then you're not going to be able to produce for very long. So invest in your spine, guys.
You definitely won't be able to play shows or jump up and down. So
exactly, yeah, you need that chair. So I'm excited, and I will be posting about it, even though Herman Miller didn't give it to me. So,
well, honestly, they should have, and I think yoga goes a long way too. Maybe add yoga in there. Maybe join a yoga class or something.
Well, you know, I've got just outside the studio on the side of my house, I installed a pull-up bar, just to like, so every so often I go out there and I just like hang off it for like 60 seconds, and it just decompresses your entire spine. And since doing that, like my neck doesn't hurt at all, like in the studio now. So
I do the same thing. I go to the gym a couple times a week on a good week, and I do the same thing. I just hang. You just feel like your whole body's a slinky, just decompresses.
Yeah, even if you get those like deadlifting straps and just strap them over the bar and just hang off the bar so that your fingers don't give out. Yeah. Like grip is a hard thing to get good at. And do that and hang for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And like breathe. And this sounds like we're such old arthritic men at this point, but like honestly, it's just like, it's the best thing ever. And it literally, if you do it every hour that you're working, then like you'll be able to produce for hours on end.
Yeah. So just a recap, you need $50,000 for acoustic stuff, a $2,000 chair, a bar to hang on.
Yeah.
Purchase a yoga class nearby.
Yeah, and you need to buy a house so that you can attach the pull-up bar to the house. Yeah. Landlords won't allow that stuff.
And if you don't have a garage, build one in the English countryside.
Then you need a sit-stand desk, which is probably a couple of grand. But then because that raises up, you also need to buy monitor stands that also raise up with the desk. So that's another few grand.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got this stuff, then I'm sorry to say, but it's not going to work out for you. It's just not.
There's no hope for you. So you should probably just give up if you can't do that.
Exactly.
That's good advice, man. That's really good advice. Let's end on that. So thanks again. Thanks for
Herman
joining.
Miller, if you're listening, I want a free chair.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Send me one as well. It'd be great. I'll take video of it on the podcast and tell people about it. But yeah, man, thanks for joining the podcast. This has been fun catching up with you. I can't believe it's been 2 years. I don't think time is real. It's definitely a simulation. It's gone so fast.
It goes faster the older you get as well, I've found. And I keep saying to my nieces, enjoy life whilst you're young. But again, a parental saying that is so true, youth is wasted on the young, because you have to get old to appreciate why being young was so good. And they're just like, shut up, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Unless you can afford like really awesome stem cells and just like, the best like red light therapy, that could help too.
I've got a red light panel in my house.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you notice a difference? Does that help? Does that really do a thing?
I feel like it's the same as when this company sent me a bottle of their nootropic pills, like Alpha Brain style. It's so hard to tell what's working because you might have just had a good night's sleep. You might have just eaten well that week. Like, I feel like it has to be a real blind study of like before and after. And it's just not, you have to use these things for like months to figure out if there's any benefit and keep a journal of like how you felt. Did it improve your mood, energy? I feel like the best thing you can do is just find all the things that you think that are scientifically apparently good for you and just do them all as much as you can and hope. Just pray that. Just hope it works. That you don't just die randomly. Yeah, hope that you just can long live a long life. Buy a new spine. Add that to the list of things you got to buy to be a good producer. A synthetic robotic spine, so you can outproduce everyone in the industry. Okay. Yeah, that could definitely help. I could see that being valuable. And a robotic bladder as well, so you can hold it in all day. Or just like a good catheter, and then just like just have the bag under your desk or something, Yeah, inbuilt studio toilet chair. Yeah, I'll add that to the database for Abe to recommend next time. So, good stuff, man. Good tips. Cool. Well, thanks for joining the podcast. It was good hanging with you, and looking forward to the new stuff. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Do me a huge favor if you would and hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you don't hate the podcast, please leave a 5-star review. It would help me out a ton. Don't forget to check back on Tuesdays for new episodes. If you want to be the first to get new episodes and stay updated and get free new devices and sample packs and other stuff that I'll be sending out in the future, join the newsletter. Just go to liveproducersonline.com/newsletter and or check out the links in the show notes. Make sure to give this guest a follow on the socials. Give them some love for spending their time. And once again, thanks for listening to the podcast. I will see you next time. Later.